Everybody? Right.
Yes.
Right, good afternoon everybody. Sorry for the slightly late start, that's my fault. I'm Chris and I have got the privilege of interviewing this afternoon a lady who needs absolutely no introduction. Everybody in the room knows who it is. Sylvia Anderson. Thank you. All right. That's better. So, is it okay just on the floor? Okay. We will start now, I promise.
Half of us outside. Going to stop any latecomers coming. Okay.
And I was going to say what an absolute privilege it is to have you here today and how grateful we are that you've come. You are famous as the co-creator of so many series that everyone here loves, and also the voice that is still absolutely unmistakable, the voice of Lady Penelope and other many, many characters.
I know sometimes people say to me, "Oh, you've still got the voice." Depends on what time it is.
So, what I'd like to do first is go back to how it all started, because you didn't have a great master plan to end up as a producer of films in the 60s. You started off as a student at the London School of Economics.
That's right.
So how did a student of the London School of Economics end up?
I'm sure you know that not many people finish what they hope to be when they start off. You either go totally the other direction, or you say, "Oh, I don't think I'd like that at all." So mine was, I had a very nice headmistress who was determined that I was going to go to university. And when I said I really would like to act and write, she said, "Oh, you cannot do that. That's dreadful, dreadful. You're too intelligent for that." So I went to the London School of Economics and had a wonderful time. Not as much as the students do now, but it was really very good. And I was then saying to myself, well, I'm going to do the good works for the world. So I'd go around and I'd go to the courts for the probations, and I went to a big house in Gloucestershire where the children were not looked after properly and so on. So I became very much attached to that and enjoyed it. But I felt a little bit restricted. There are a lot of things that I would like to do off my own back that I couldn't do. So when the chance came, I had a holiday time. And so I saw an ad near where I lived. It was for a small film company. And I thought, well, that'll do for a few weeks. So would you like to hear about how I started?
Absolutely. So this was like a holiday job?
It's a holiday job, but I was still always interested in the acting and did school plays and all that sort of stuff. But everyone around me said, no, you want to do something a bit more solid than that. So I went around for this audition, if you like, and it was a very hot day, like today, and I thought I'd wear a business suit or something like that, which is the last thing in the world I should have been wearing, because no one wears business suits in the film business, but I didn't know that then. And I walked up this hill, and I thought, oh, no, this is too hot what I'm wearing. And I came across finally a very old house that looked like something out of a movie, a Hitchcock movie. Do you all know Hitchcock? Yep. And so I went, and it was a rusty old door, and I thought, oh, I've come to the wrong place, there's something wrong here. So I turned to go back, and I saw a movement in the window, and I thought, oh God, what is this? So before I could do anything about it, the door creaked open, and there was this very nice elderly man. He looked like a professor, and in fact he was a professor. And he said, oh, are you coming about the job? I went, yes, very eager. Went in, and there was a big boardroom, and there were only three of us there. Two of the other directors were not there. And I sat down, and they questioned me so much about what I'd done where. I said, look, I'm only 18, really. Anyway, finally they said, oh, well, we'll let you know. And so I forgot all about it. A few days later, I got a call saying, could you please just come along and help us out? We've got something coming in. And so I said, yeah, all right, I will. So I went along, and that's how I got into the film business.
And the man that the film company that you went to was called Polytechnic Films.
Polytechnic Films.
Who were the directors? Who were the other people involved in that then?
The other people involved, Jerry, I hadn't met yet because some of the directors weren't there. So we would go to this boardroom and they were sort of around very sort of serious and asked me about irrelevant questions. And they said, well, we have to let you know. And there was a man called Smith. He was the professor, really. Yeah. He had his own way of doing things. And then we had somebody else called Fred Furter, Dougie Dobbs, and so on. They were all there just to see how it turned out. Some for the money, some not. Anyway, when I got this call, and I finally got to meet Jerry, who was very serious, and he said, they said, well, actually, Jerry hasn't met you, but he didn't want you to come here because he thought you sounded too young. Well, I was, So, anyway, that's how it all started.
And what did Polytechnic do? What kind of filmmaking were they doing?
Polytechnic were making titles, film titles, and they were also doing odd things with titles and commercials, so on. So I was quite fascinated to see a line of actors standing at the door early in the morning to do this. So it was a different world.
Because one of the things that I always, and I'm sure lots of other people always noticed, and when I was a kid and watched the programme, one of the things that always struck me about your programmes was that the use of the titles and title captions and title designs were so different. Is that something that stems back to Polytechnic?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
That's where they were getting what money they got on things like that. And that was fascinating because we had a whole division. I think I was the only girl working. So make that what you were. But I found myself making the tea and the coffee and cleaning up, doing all the things that women do, And when there was anyone coming to talk to us about any work, then we had to all clean up and everything. And I had to scuttle in the background because I didn't have an equity ticket at that time. That was very important then.
The union control was very strong.
I had to hide, when anyone came. So it was all really exciting, really. But no money at all. I think I got 5 shillings a week or something ridiculous.
And Polytechnic morphed into AP Films, which is the name that probably morphed into.
Well, what happened after about a year or so, I quickly got the feeling that some of those directors were not going to stay there because they wanted to move on, do other things, and they all more exciting. And then they approached me, Jerry Anderson, and Arthur Probus, who's the photographer, and John Reed, who was, again, he was a cameraman. So there were about 4 or 5 that came to me and said, would you join us? And I felt very mean about it because I liked the others very much. But I quickly saw that they weren't going to keep up with each other. Mm-hmm. But there was one snag. We all had to put some money in for the new company. So I went to my mother and said, do you think I can get some money? She said, what? They're employing you and you're going to pay? I said, no, it's all going to be all right. It's going to be fine. So we all put money in, cashed in insurances or whatever. So that's how it all started.
And you guys were the guys that then wanted to be the directors of AP Films and
yes,
the names that were
AP
recognised?
Films stands for Anderson and Probus.
Right.
They were the leaders on this.
So that was Jerry Anderson,
Arthur Probus, yes, camera. And then quickly joined by the people I mentioned, Reg Hill, and all the rest that were covering different parts of filmmaking.
Sure.
So it was all very exciting. We all collected our bits of money from our friends and family. And we got a typewriter. And certainly no laptops in those days. We had a typewriter, telephone, and again we were in a big house, but it was in Maidenhead, and it was right by the river. And we took over the ballroom, which sounds very grand, but it wasn't that grand. So everything we ever did, it was all in that one space. So you had the carpenter sawing in the corner, and the painters painting, and I'm doing all the writing and everything.
And this is the famous old house that I've heard of where you had to get there by boat.
That's right.
Isn't it?
Well, it was in the summer, and we thought, oh, it's beautiful, it's lovely, you can sit by sitting there. The only thing is, the guys who were making the sets looked out the window, and we were flooded. So I have some pictures somewhere of with the carpenters and the set makers sitting in the boats with bits of the thing to get over into the main part. So it wasn't easy, any of it, and there was very little work, I have to say. I was then introduced to the cutting rooms.
Sure.
And one, I think we may have someone here, said to me when I first started there, now whatever you do, we're going into the studio to do some voiceover things here. You must not be seen. You must not talk about what you're doing because you're not with any agents or anything. And I said, yes, fine. So me being me, I went to get my hair done and I was using a new hairdresser, Italian, so I go, just the colour for you. I ended up pink. And they looked at me and said, you can't go in the studio like that. I said, well, they're pink. One scarf. I mean, it was everything. So silly, really, you know. And then I tried to learn all the splicing and all the rest of it, you know, I had to do it. But I had one solemn word from Jerry. If ever you lose a clipping, anything, a film, you stay behind until you find it. Oh, right, okay. So one day I had a very sort of flashy ex-editor come in. Oh, what are you doing? Sorry, I'll help you. And he's doing all this thing. Oh, God, got to go now. Sure enough, I lost a piece of film. So I'm there with my pink hair and the scarf, trying to get there. So after that, I didn't welcome anyone into my cutting room because they only got me into trouble. So there's the beginning.
And you were approached, you didn't have any plan to get into public films at all, did you? Was it a lady called Roberta?
No, we just wanted work.
Yeah.
Because we realised that just going there and setting up as a location and without any work to be done, that wasn't doing very well. So being when the only girl, I was sent out to work outside. So I worked in very dreary places on the Slough training estate. And so that was I thought, this is not what I imagined. You know, this is the Slough training estate, and I'm doing all this. And I thought, no. Anyway, finally, someone came to the studio, a very posh lady in a Rolls Royce, who didn't look at any of us, you know, just spoke to the main directors and everything, and had this idea for a puppet series that she'd written herself. But what we found out later, that she'd gone around everywhere to all the small movie makers and got the cheapest quote. So there we were. So that was the beginning of puppetry.
And what was that series?
There was Torchy the Battery Boy.
Was that the first one?
Yeah, Torchy the Battery Boy and I forgot
Twizzle?
Twizzle, which is, you can imagine, I used to do by now I was helping with the voices and directing all our artists. So we had people coming in like Kenneth Carner and so on. And we recorded, wait for this, in the bathroom. Because I went, I think, yeah, that's the best place to record it. And I looked one day when I had all the artists coming in, and I looked at the bath and it was full of dirty washing up. And I thought, look, you haven't even washed up. Anyway, so that's where we started there.
And you were recording the voice artists in there?
Yeah. They thought it was good, the acoustics and all the rest of it. So we had lots of fun doing that. And Madame would appear every now and again and give us a bit of chocolate too. So I saw the rough end of all this, actually. Anyway, so bit by bit, we looked how we were actually doing these puppet films with the backdrop and all that. So wait a minute, we can do this better than this. We can do it, it's more sophisticated and so on. So with the very clever, people we had, John Reed on the, and all the guys that worked on better things than that. So we started then, and we said, thank you very much, but we don't do our own now. So I got involved in writing then, and the voices, so that's how it started, all began.
So the first one you did by yourselves was Four Feather Falls, then Supercar.
Well, what happened, we used to sit around, we were very good at having meetings in the early days. So everyone was like, right, get a copy of it, we're having meetings, they're big meetings. Now what can we make next that we can't do with, artists, grown-up people? Well, you couldn't do a Western here, could you really? Let's do a Western, right? So that's how we devised all of this.
Sure.
And then, and it was a real communal effort, really, because everyone was working for nothing, but pulling in ideas. So that's how it all started. And Then bit by bit, we realised we're not going to get very rich on this. And then various people came in that we knew in the film industry. And we then made our own first independent thing, which was 4 Feather Falls. So we thought, hey, this is going to be absolutely fantastic. So on the strength of that, we got in lots of equipment on HP and everything. And once again, we thought, oh, we were right, because we hadn't. And Granada got involved, and we did our first series for them. And so
So they funded 4 Feather Falls?
Yes, yeah. So we thought, well, we're home now. But what we didn't realise, that they hadn't really given us the okay to do any more than just a few films. But, naive as we were, we decided we must bring in a lot of different things. And suddenly realised, and we waited for the phone to ring. We all know about whatever you're doing, the phone doesn't ring, does it, when you want it to ring? You say, well, shall we phone them? Will they phone us? Oh no, if we do that, Finally we had another meeting, where the meeting said, you better phone them because we're going broke. So
it went that close to going under
oh,
again?
Yeah, because we'd already got stuff from HP and everything, and we'd taken over a big place and everything. We were way ahead of ourselves. And of course, what happened was, Granada didn't ring. And when we finally rang them, and they said, oh, no, that's enough now. When you make children's films, you don't have to do a lot, because you can keep repeating them. No one had told us that. We hadn't even thought about it. So we learned our lesson there. And then bit by bit, we got involved, again, going broke again, with Lou Grade, who was just starting up ATV. And he was the big man with a big cigar. You probably all know. Do you know about Lou Grade? Yeah, most people. Anyone in the film industry would know. And he was fantastic for us. Never came down to the studio, only if we wanted a bigger place. We just looked through the letterbox and say, oh yeah, you can take that, right, that's it, go on. I mean, these are true stories, but you don't believe it these days, do you? It can't happen. And that's how we then got in.
And so then AP Films, that was then funded by Lou Gray, went on to do Supercar?
Well, no, what happened was that the AP of Anderson and Provis decided, they broke up, because I think quite wisely at the time, Arthur Provis saw in this woman that come along, it's a better bet than what we've got now. She's got money and she's got ideas. So he left us, and so then we went carried on from there. And that was going to happen, because we literally had no money. And we were introduced to Lou Gray, and he said, well, let me see what they've done, what they're doing. And this is another friend. You must always have the friends, and especially when you are going up, when you're going down. And so that's how we started with our early shows, bringing all that we had learned along the way with the puppets and then improving them, so on.
The first programme I remember from when I was little was Fireball XL5, and it was probably on reruns because I'm only 21. And your role had dramatically increased by series like Fireball, hadn't it? What things were you involved in?
If you imagine this room, your technicians, and you each have your own. The thing I loved about Princesses is everyone has got their own empire. Everyone is the boss. Say, whether it's the sound, or whether it's photography, or sets, everyone is a boss in their own way. And I like that. I thought that was rather good. Yeah. And that's all my London School of Economics training coming out, looking after everyone. Anyway, so we had all the talent there. All you needed was the work. So we really didn't have to look for anyone. Everyone had their own ideas and so on. So that's really how it all started. And the people stayed with us for the rest of our careers.
And who were your key players that were starting to be in place by sort of Fireball and Stingray era? Who were the key people at the studio that you were working with?
Well, the key people at the studio is what they'd always been, actually. The people that were training, if you like, that stuck with us when we didn't have any money. And so we formed, as someone said today, and there are several people here who know what I mean, it's like a family.
Sure.
Because we're all young, and you know, when you're young you can do anything, you aspire to anything. And so we've had that covered. Mary Turner had come in with the early puppet stuff.
Yep.
I can't praise her enough. She was the head of puppetry with another lady, Christine Campbell. They were all puppeteers in that puppet world, really. Yeah. And John Reed was on the camera. So he was able to look and say, oh God, these people are right up on a gantry here. They've got no air coming in or anything, and they can't say anything. So I think what we ought to do is devise a way that they can see what we can see. And they, many nights, when I ever went home, they would be working away there with better movement for the characters, better visibility.
And there was a TV system that was developed, wasn't there, so the puppeteers could see
well, before
exactly
that,
what
you
the camera
imagine
could
you're
see.
up on a gantry, a high gantry, and you're looking down. So you're not seeing what the camera's seeing, and you're not seeing what the director is seeing. So that was devised. And that, amazingly, it was never used before that in any studio.
And it's used everywhere still
Exactly,
today. Isn't it?
exactly, yeah.
And because of that system, then the puppeteers could actually see what the camera saw, and that's one of the reasons they were so much more able to communicate with the camera than in previous
they didn't know what they were
programs.
looking at, really, basically. But everyone we'd been doing that before, so we went on doing it. And then you get someone on the floor that says, no, you know, this is not right, you can't do this. So that evolved, really. And then it evolved that the mouse movement, and that was one of my other jobs. I used to do a little machine that you moved the lip sync, you know, which meant that it was always slightly out, you know. By the time I reacted to anything, it was like too late. The way you see outside broadcast now, and it's always out of sync, which irritates me to this day. Sync. Anyway, so bit by bit, we started to earn a little bit of money, not much, but we were learning on the job. That was the main thing, you know. That was, and we had the people there that you wouldn't ask them, can you still do it? And they say, look, I tell you what, we need to do this. So it was very unique in that respect.
One of the things that was also very different, and I obviously got hooked to it because I'm a collector, was the merchandising side of the programmes was so much different to the programmes that had gone before. It seems, you know, looking back at it now with series like Supercar and then Fireball and Stingray, the merchandising grew with each series, and eventually we reached Thunderbirds. And
well, everything reached Thunderbirds, but people do forget that the beginning was the beginning of everything, really. Thunderbirds was the, you know, it was the big thing. I personally thought, we're not going to do any better than this, you know. But all the lead up to it was all very practical.
Sure.
And I know, because I worked through. I was in the gutter rooms, the lip syncing operator, everything. I think, oh my God, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
And on occasions, Jerry and I would work with the lip sync thing. And a book that I've got here, which no longer exists, but all our stuff was there. I think what is unique is that all the stuff that we ended up with, it was all carefully worked through. We didn't just arrive and say, well, let's do this. Through the hard work of everybody else there, all the people that were working there, saying, we can do better than this. So with the puppetry, because I was on this terrible lip sync thing, I said to the guys, you know, can't we do something? They said, no, it's you know, it's a human thing. And I said, well, all right, okay. And they came in one day and said, yeah, I think we've got to put a solenoid in the head, back the head comes up, and attach that to electrical wire or whatever, and just press it down once and it chatters away. Sometimes he went mad, so we had lots of chatter for nothing. And other times it didn't move at all, but it's progress, isn't it?
So we're building up to, I think, and what a lot of people were particularly interested to hear about, your involvement in Thunderbirds, the thing that perhaps made you most famous, being Lady Penelope in real life. How did Lady Penelope come about?
Penelope.
Penelope, did I say that wrong?
No, I'm saying it. Because people say it. Barbara said it.
How did she come about as a character? Were you involved in developing her as a character?
I was involved in developing all the characters basically, because how Joe and I worked, that he would dream up the boys' own stuff, and I would dream up the human side, if you like, human couple side. And I remember, because for this time we were travelling abroad a lot with Lou Grade and his big cigars to try and sell our stuff, because generally speaking, two things were against us for America. They didn't like puppets, and they didn't much like English stuff. So we really had a big thing, you know, how to cover. So what we did, we treated everything as if it was for real. We didn't think they were just puppets, because we tried desperately for the bad things to show about it, including the strings, the wires. That went on endlessly, because you had to bear in mind the weight of the characters and everything, heavy, but at the same time they mustn't snap, at the same time they mustn't be sharing something. So that was difficult, but again it's down to people like John Reed, Reg Hill. They got local companies to try and manufacture something that covered all those things, and it was very, very difficult. A tungsten wire that was so thin you could hardly see it, but it snapped. And then you saw it so you could see it, and that was okay. So we, in the end, a lot of us would say, what do you do? We'd nip out with a paintbrush, black paintbrush, and just try to cover up at stages the wire. And we never succeeded.
You even experimented, because we've got some people have seen in the cabinets, you even experimented with under control puppets, didn't you?
Yeah, it was all right for certain shots, you know, because you know thing, but you couldn't get the realism in a way from above thing. And you've got everyone underneath, which they do a lot now, I think, you know.
And so, Lady Penelope, she was sculpted by Mary. Lady Penelope was sculpted by Mary Turner, wasn't it? So would she have brought the sculpt to you, and you'd sort of fed that to
how it worked with Mary and the people in the public workshop is that we would, Joe and I, when we first came up with a new idea, we'd sit everyone down and say, look, this is it, this is our Bible, these are the characters, this is what they've got to do. So I would work mostly with the puppet people there, mostly Mary, but there were other puppeteers as well, and they'd each take something they preferred to do, and that's how we worked, and we got it right. So that part of it, and each time we had the new inventions to work with, so it evolved really. And so then I was thinking about the characters. Now I was dealing now with Americans. Lou Gray wanted to bring America in. So I thought, well, now what can I do that's a bit different from the Swedish heroines I used to devise? Always walked
like Venus and Far
a few paces behind the guy. And then I thought, I'll come up with something. I need a bit of a rest. So I came up with Marina. And so I used to get calls. All guys liked Marina. She didn't speak. I thought, what have I done?
I don't know what it means.
And I'm a big chatterer. Anyway, so it was really, you can do what you like. And, that's great, it was very good. I got over that one quickly. They went on to other characters. So bit by bit, the outside world was evolving as well. Because although you're in a studio, you think you're living in a bubble, which you are while you're working. But outside world, you have to notice what's going on. And so we quickly realized we were now approaching the 60s, that things were really changing. And all that I'd done in the past, I was dogged by, you're a woman, or we can't, I see, another woman thing, okay. And hiding from the equity and all so on. I didn't really work there at all. But, so bit by bit I thought, now this is getting a bit silly now, we've got to get now, so it's quite universal. So that's when eventually I got up to another thing. And then I thought, well, what do Americans know about us over here? And the amazing thing is that even then, they didn't know anything about us as people living over here. So you were either a lady in a manor, posh lady, or you're a crook, or you're talking in a Cockney accent. They didn't know the difference, really and truly. That happened later. So I thought, right, well now this has got to go to Lou Grade first. He's got to sell it to America. So I better give him something that he can sell. So then one of my favourite books was The Scarlet Pimpernel.
Sure.
Do you know The Scarlet Pimpernel? Mm-hmm. Because it fascinated me. I thought it was a really, something that would film so well, and had been filmed, that you're one person by day, and by night, particularly a lady of a bank. You wouldn't expect that she was going to do anything different. So I thought of a back story, which Americans are very keen on, and it's very good, because you're thinking, well, now how did that evolve? So I felt, well, the lady in the manor, she would have a lovely car, she would do all her good works, like I was doing at London School of Economics, and so she'd find someone to come give him a chance in life.
Second chance.
Second chance, yeah. A lovable rope. Well, they don't exist now, do they? Really. So I was ahead of my time then. Anyway, so then I thought, oh yeah, he could be the driver. Rolls Royce, pink Rolls Royce. So that's how it evolved, really. And Lou Grade was always very, he was very good in as much as saying, look, so long as it works, just do it, you know. And so when we were working on Lady Canapé, he just rang me up and said, look, there's only one thing I want to say to you, Sylvia. Yes, Lou, what's that? Don't make her too posh. I said, but she is. This is the whole point. Americans won't understand her. Yes, it will. So that's how that evolved. And I felt we were International Rescue was still there on the island, and we had lovely material for different stories. So Alan was the baby, and we were writing a dream sequence, all sorts of things. So it was very good material there.
And Lady Penelope became more and more popular as the series progressed, didn't she?
Well, it didn't always happen, because by this time we were getting involved with doing magazines and everything. So people would then, and I said, I know what we could do. We could have Lady Penelope investigate, and I could go around all the studios, all the people that work with Lou Grade, and do an interview. And I said, oh, great, good idea.
So who did you meet doing that?
Well, only people I really knew. Roger Moore, who was doing The Saint, and I went over there, and he said, what are you doing? And I said, oh, yes, well, this is it. I'm interviewing you. He said, oh, yeah, I said, yeah, I am. He said, you want to come to lunch? I haven't got time. I've got to get back to the studio. I said, you must be the only person that's turned down having lunch with The Saint. And I said, yes, I am. You know, actors are very conceited. So anyway, that was the beginning. The snag was that we had different magazines and things now. And I brought in some more writers, but the writers didn't know how to write for Lady Penelope. They just didn't understand it. And we got a call one day and said, you know, we've done 5 episodes, and she's hardly ever in it. She just gets in a Rolls Royce, runs there, and the next day we're on the island. I said, yeah, well, they don't know how to write for her, do they? So I said, you better get some material there exclusive to her. So then I was able, and I just had to take hold of a lot of the stories and say, come on, forget she's a woman, this is what she does.
But that was quite revolutionary for its time, wasn't it? And that you had other strong female roles going through the series, like the Angels and Captain Scarlet and the Moonbase Girls.
Yeah.
Was that something that you consciously wanted to push?
I consciously did. By this time, nothing happened by accident, what we were doing. We had to now plan it all out. Otherwise it'd be no work, you know. So I thought of the Angels, and I thought, that's right, they're all different things, I think. And I couldn't name 2 of them. I had them all going, and I was starting to London, and I thought, I've got to get these 2 names for the Angels before I get I didn't have Parker, I was driving. And so I finally got that. And then it started to fall into place that you could. I have to say, I've never had much problem. I know people do, we're talking about women's rights and women and all that. I think if you just do your own thing. I was lucky, I was married to a boss. But if you do what you feel you're good at doing, then you have to ignore the fact that whether you're a man, a woman, or whatever, because I'm sure there were some mumblings, well, the crew, saying, oh, not her again, or something like that.
Well,
If I-
yeah, by the time Thunderbirds eventually evolved into 2 feature films, MGM, didn't it? Thunderbirds
Yes.
Are Go and Thunderbirds 6, and you
Yes.
were producer credited on those. There can't
Yes.
have been many women in Britain in the 60s that were
Yeah,
film
I
producers.
suppose not, but I never thought of it that way, you see. I thought, well, it's quite right that I'm producing, because I'm producing it, you know. And so nothing was ever handed to me, and I was not, to my cost, I was never much interested in credits. I was so stupid, I didn't know how important they were. You know, I just thought, oh, that's what I did, that's what so-and-so did. But of course they're very important when you come to working on other things.
And one thing that I always remember, and it's just an interest of mine, that Cliff Richard was in Thunderbirds Are Go. How did you meet Cliff Richard?
Well, that was a sort of funny story, really, because by this time we were going away a lot writing, and we got a place in Portugal that was not really known then. But it became quite a show-busy place, but the food was awful, the weather was good, but I mean, I still can't eat their food. But it was a good place to hide away. It wasn't too expensive, easy to get to. And next to, so going back a bit, we had the premiere of the first film. And Lou Gray liked to do grand justice, which I'm pleased to say. He was a real showman. And he came up to us at the premiere and he handed me an envelope. And it was for a villa in Portugal. Oh, I can't believe it. That's where we worked with John. Only one snag. We got a call about a week later, said, oh, I don't know how to tell you this, but my brother, who was also an agent and director, he said, oh, Darren, you can't give that to them because we've already given it to Tom Jones. I said, what do you mean? What do you mean? No, he's just, I think I can say this now. He's just had his nose done. And he wants to go somewhere quiet. So can you please let him have it for a month or something? I said, oh, I don't want that. Anyway, we did. And I always remember that when we went to, and we left with other booze and everything for him. He now had a son at the time, well, he's still got one, but grown up. And his son had taken the tip of the umbrella and scored all the walls. Thank you very much. We're not going to let that off to anyone else like that.
And it was in you met Cliff Richard in Portugal?
Cliff Richard, yeah, he was in Portugal. He had the next villa to us. Because what happened, we found out that Lou Grade and his brothers were giving out these places, probably at a cheap lot or something, I don't know. And so
timeshare.
Yeah, the timeshare was going, oh, hello, Lou. Oh, you're down here? Oh, right, I see. So anyway, so then we became friendly with the agent, Peter Gormley, who was an Australian. And he had a place down there as well. He liked the weather and all the rest of it. So we got to know him, and he said to me one day, why don't you ever use any of my people, your characters? I said, oh, who have you got?
Cliff Richard and the
Cliff Richard,
Shadows.
Shadows. So I said, yeah, good idea, right. So we all got home, brought them down to the studio, and let them loose with the sculptures. And the rest was in the dream sequence of Thunderbirds.
Fantastic, and it's something that everyone remembers from that film. Conscious of time, I wanted to just talk about how you then went on to working into live action, because the puppet films petered out with Secret Service in 1969.
Yes, I think we've been doing them quite a long time, 12 years, and it does reach a stage when you do get to stay with it, and you try different things out. You try humans with puppets.
That was in the Secret Service.
Yeah, and it was a lot of people still contact me and say they'd like to see it again. But I think we were going far away for the things that they enjoyed. And
it's a strange thing, because I think the Secret Service is much more popular now than it ever was in the 60s.
Yes, it is. But the one that I thought was going to beat everything, because the puppets were perfect symmetry, they were better puppets than Thunderbirds, was Captain Scarlet. But people found it too dark. And I think it had an appeal for boys' own stuff, you know, but it was very dark. And they couldn't come to terms with that, with the other stuff that we'd done, because I think we veered away from that sort of thing. We veered away, everyone's going to enjoy it, you know. And
so,
they were
sorry.
fantastic puppets.
And Mary, who sculpted a lot of them, is here tomorrow, isn't she? And the sculpting work on Captain Scarlet is incredible, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, they really enjoyed doing it because, again, they've been working towards this sort of thing. But the public they didn't take to it the way our other. I think it was following on from Thunderbirds. It was very difficult because you had everything in there. But we.
So you started to look away from puppet films and more into live
Well,
action?
I think Joe was getting fed up with them as well, and everyone was saying, "Oh God, we've got to do that again." You know, still got to find fantastic inventions to get even further. You know, and it's a very laborious, thing to do. And our kids were growing up, weren't they? The people we brought in from art schools, they were growing up saying, "Oh, we're going to go with this." So that changed us. We did have one strange thing that happened. I personally felt that Thunderbirds was going to be the one.
Sure.
And that we'd all work towards that. And I somehow mentally couldn't get my head round anything after that. It was like you get exhausted, you're doing all these things, and you think, oh no, I've got to start work again. So the word got round that we'd had some showings of Thunderbirds. And it got very good reviews. And so we had the first day of shooting on Thunderbirds, we had the press literally outside, queuing up to come in. See? Whereas before, we couldn't get anyone to collect our rushes because the lad said, well, collect your rushes, you only got a few things, little characters and all the rest of it. You don't want to know that, not good enough. You know that, don't you? And so suddenly they don't want to collect rushes, being what we shot the day before.
Went on to a whole different level, didn't it?
Yeah, and now you've got the press saying, "Oh, what's this?" So they came in, asked their usual questions, and then they said, "Penelope, who is she based on?" So I said, "Well, actually, I'll call in Mary, because she'd tell you we had a lot of problems with this, because when we started doing it, I said, look, this should be easy, I've given you a description. But of course it isn't easy, because a lot of you will know, if you have a caricature, if you've got someone with a big nose, red nose, big ears, it's fine, you can do it. But if you've got someone near to a human, it's not easy. So we had a lot of trouble. Mary and I would just work. And I remember one day I said to her, "Look, take it home this weekend, see if you can do anything with it, because I don't think, we're nearly there, but not." And she came back that week and said, "What do you think?" I said, "Oh, well," I said, "we're nearly there, just a little bit there." "Fine, go ahead, do it." That's all I knew. So when she came in, Mary is a very, very talented lady, very quiet. She doesn't, shout out, mouth out what she's done, but she's probably worked harder than anyone could possibly work on our stuff. And so she came in, and I let her loose with the reporters. It's always a bad thing to do. And the reporter said, "Come on, Mary, who do you base it on?" She said, "Oh, Sylvia." "Oh, what?" They looked at me and said, "Oh, you knew all the time." I said, "I didn't, because if I did know, I would have been embarrassed by it and say, oh no, I'm not quite there." But I didn't recognize anything. So then, from then on, everyone in the papers was saying, "Oh yeah, it's based on her and all that," And so that's how it all started.
And you even did, on some of the publicity, you had the same outfit as the puppet, didn't you?
So it was my way of getting some nice clothes. Yeah. My mother was a dress designer, for goodness sake. I wasn't going to let that go, was I?
So when it went to live action, how did your role change then? What were you involved in with the live action shows like UFO?
Yeah. I wanted to step away a little bit from things, because writing is what I do. And it was nice to be able to write something that you weren't worried, could the puppet do it? Could it sit down, stand up, open its mouth, It was nice to do it. But the one thing that happened is that we lost our team, if you like. We lost our family, because the family were going on doing other things. And whereas we protected each other before, and we were a true family, you walked into the studio and anything happened there, you would look after it, it would be done or whatever. Now we were the little fish in the big pool,
Sure.
not the big fish. So it was a strange thing to do. I think anyone that changes course of what they're doing will find that they just say, wait a minute, I used to do this, that was fine, but now, and you've got a different set of people, and their expectations for doing it. And I read some rotten reviews of things that we've done, saying, oh yes, it's just like a puppet. So you couldn't cast anyone without them being labelled a puppet, which is not a bad thing, but as far as an actor is concerned, it's a very bad thing. So bit by bit, we realised, and I spent more time writing and doing stuff that I wanted to do. And so that's the whole thing then kind of drifted like that. And we're human beings, and human beings do silly things, and they do things they're fed up with. But I think we were very spoilt, really, for all those years, because everyone said, you're doing something fantastic, and it's really good, and all the rest of it. We knew it was hard work. And people get tired as well, you know, they get exhausted, my God, I'm not getting much money. But the big thing that happened was that Lou Grade came to buy our company.
Sure.
And we thought, well, that's good. We can help our company, we can have a nice big house and all this. And he did, after a lot of argy-bargy. But the reason he bought the company was he recognised that the future was all about merchandising.
Yeah.
Now we had a merchandise person with us, Keith Sharpton, who was a merchandising man. So he started the thing, but they wanted to take it all, and because they know that's where the money is, basically.
Well, it's been said, hasn't it, that Thunderbirds was the most merchandised property before Star Wars.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, I go around factories and see whole factories doing just our stuff, nothing else. And, you know, before we were taken over by Lou Grade. There was the one thing, I think, that split it all up, because then they wanted to take their people doing it and everything, you know. And whereas I had lots of fun, you know, doing the characters and all the rest of it, it's not so exciting. It's just casting someone to do it.
and the last of the kind of recognisable series that you were actively involved in was the first series of Space 1999.
Yes, that's right. I mean, it got off to all the worst start. I think it was a 3-day week or 4-day week, whatever it was. And we were on a big set at Pinewood. And I walked on the set one day and said, oh my God, what's this now? It's terrible. It was formaldehyde they were using. So everyone's leaving the set going, oh! I said, what are you using on this? It's formaldehyde. This is what we all came out alive. But didn't you think about it? No, oh, that's what it is. Because, you know, technicians are so used to doing terrible things and being in terrible places that they take it and say, oh, all right, yeah, it's work. So that was not a good start. And then we had different people involved and everything, you know. And somehow it didn't have the magic at all. And it did involve us with going to America more and so on. But I thought to myself, well, I don't know. This is not what we really set out to do, because it was really, it was, of course, it was very, very well written, it was beautifully photographed, but Lou Grade sent us to America, which sounds like a good thing, to cast the main characters. So I had a bright idea while we were over there. Then let's cast outside the box, let's do something different. So I cast some people, and we rang them up, and he said, oh no, we don't want him, he's much trouble, no, the studios won't like him, the studios won't like this. So we were really governed, if you liked, by the studios.
And so you were led to cast Martin Landau and Barbara
Exactly.
Brownlee.
I didn't want to, I thought they're very wooden, if they'll forgive me, and they're not here, are they?
They're not here, no.
I said it to his face, I saw him not long ago. And she didn't want to turn her hair and everything. He was like Martin. I had some very funny stories there. Anyway. So,
Maybe tomorrow.
I'm not going to tell those here.
Well, we know each other.
No, I'm not going to tell them. But I thought, this is the Hollywood that I don't like. I don't like any of this because it's so typical. You know, you've got to have the, you know, she was, her hair never out of place. He was the master of all that. He hated anyone that I cast who was younger. So we had that trouble. You know. So there were all the things that came up over that I really didn't like. But
I'd never thought of that before, but looking back at UFO, the cast in the UFO is actually quite brave, isn't it? Because Ed Bishop wasn't a big name.
That's right. I got in terrible trouble with him. Because now I get a lot of calls from you going, why'd you cast him?
Yeah.
There's another actor, I won't mention his name, but you probably know yourself. He was a very good actor. He wasn't the leading man, but I thought that's all right, we're grown-ups. So I cast him, and I got a terrible phone call from him going, what? I've shown the Americans this, and they don't like him, he's got spots on his face or something. I said, what? He said, no.
Everyone's trying to work out which one things
Hands up. Tell you after the show. Anyway, and I felt terrible about it because I had the job of saying to his agent, to him, I'm sorry, it's not working out. But yeah, I said, I'm sorry, it's not my decision, but I've got to tell you that. So I did another one out of the box, as they say. It was Peter, what's his name? Peter Godina, thank you. Peter Godina, who the women absolutely loved. Every time he walked on the set.
He had his own show, didn't he?
Oh, he had his own show. Lou Gray, don't want him as a dancer. So I thought, let's go back to the box.
But yeah, in hindsight, for me, I don't know what other people think. For hindsight, that's one of the things that makes the show so distinctive. The look of it.
But you see, I'd forgotten the golden rule. I should go by what the bosses wanted. But I was trying to be like we were still in our studio.
Sure.
Where we could do anything we like, really, so long as it worked. So I thought to myself, this isn't fun anymore, really. But I couldn't afford not to do it. And then it affected the people we were working with. It just wasn't the same. And we were governed really by how Jerry and I worked on that one. We said, right, you take that episode because our leads wanted to go through every line, and then we don't, and everything, like they knew it all. And I say, here's the script, it's going to work. No, we didn't like page 3, line 23 or whatever, and I think, oh God, no, not that. So, another thing of Lou Gray, and I'll stop this now. Another thing Lou Gray said to me is he said, I want you to go to Rome. I went to all the best places. Went to Rome. And he said, I want you to cast a leading man in Rome. I thought, that's not difficult. That is not difficult. So I said, oh, right, I'll go with the casting man. So off I went to Rome with the casting. And that was another story, I can tell you. Anyway. All the best things you can't talk about. I went years ago anyway. So
that's another day.
It's another day.
Maybe some more.
Yeah, maybe some more. Anyway, so I went to Rome, which was lots of fun. So I saw loads and loads of Italians, all good looking, all great. We took over this little hotel. It was a fantastic little hotel. So as you would go in the hotel itself, there's a grand piano. So people sitting there playing the piano and having lots of fun. But I saw loads and loads of actors, either they couldn't speak English properly, or they didn't look right. Oh God. So the very last day, I thought, I can't do anything about this. So I said to the casting guy, I said, look, we can take one more session, then I'm going home, because we're not finding what we want. And as I said that, now it sounds like a woman's own story, doesn't it? This very tall, handsome man entered, sat down, played the piano, and spoke very good English. And we cast him, needless to say, as the sidekick to our guys from America. So I thought, right, okay. So Lou said, have you found anyone, Sylvia? I said, yeah, I think so. But I said, I've got 2 or 3 there. We'll fly them over. We'll do some scenes with our guys and see what works. He said, right, you decide, let me know, and I'll go with what you say. So we did that. We came back. And I spoke to our leading man and said, look, don't worry about it, but we've been asked to get some Italian money in here because they're putting money into the series. So there's got to be Italian now, not American. And so we're flying him over. Oh, what? Who what? Who flying what? What? Have you got any pictures? No, I haven't got any pictures yet, but we're doing some scenes, you know. So we've devoted a day or two. Well, if you had seen their faces.
Who was it? Who was that actor?
The actor, Giancarlo Prete. You don't know him, but he appeared in it. And so our leading man, I said, oh, by the way, I said, I'm going to show you some footage that we've done in Rome. So if you see what you think, but we're going to cast him, I think. What? I haven't seen him. What? How old is he? I don't know. So I arrange all these sessions, and we have our guys, you know, shooting it and everything. And the day comes for our band to be there. So he slumps in, not wanting to be there, with his agent, and up comes this handsome Italian. He spoke perfect English, very good actor, had worked in America, ticked all the boxes. And suddenly, am I going to get sued for this?
No,
I don't know.
you're on script.
I don't know. And suddenly our leading man jumped up the seat and said, how dare you, what are you doing? I don't want him, and all this, you know, what do you think? He went totally berserk. So I thought, I was enjoying it actually, I just sat there, but yeah, carry on. So his wife, who was always very cool and calm, said, is this the man I married? I said, is that all you're going to say to him? So anyway, it was real fun, so I decided to be very dignified about it. I said, you're quite finished and everything. My best English accent. And he said, I don't know, what do you take me for? And he went swearing. I said, all right, okay, fine. You just leave, will you? Just thank you. Off you go. So I left with his agent. He said, oh, Sylvia, what are you doing to him? I said, listen, he's had a very good run, and he's still going to be in the series, but I'm not going to be spoken to like that in front of anyone. So if he doesn't want it, we'll recast.
Sure.
So, but I didn't know what I was saying. Jerry went and said, what are you saying? How dare you say that? I said, don't worry, he'll calm down. So I was due to see him for a costume fitting that evening. I said, no, I'm not going. Oh, why are you not going? No. I said, no, I'm not going. He's got to learn his lesson here. Who do you think he is? So I went home, the phone rang all evening. I said, don't answer it. Jerry was answering it. Oh, she's not here at the moment. She's going to be here tomorrow. I was enjoying every minute of it. So the next morning I go in and I said, oh, Sylvia, can I see you? I said, look, just don't mention it anymore. The fact of the matter is we've been asked to cast someone who's going to help the series. And if you want the series to go on, we've got to do what they say. After that.
And he kept the job.
Hmm?
And the leading man kept the job.
Of course he did. Well, what chance do you stand if that's where you're going to react? That's the trouble with being with Hollywood, because they go by everything that the big guy says. Sometimes you have to, but if it's a leading man, no, you don't have to. You know. So I took the chance, and after that it was rather careful. But so we stayed with our Giancarlo Prete, and that was it basically. So then after that, we split up, Joe and myself, which you probably know about more than you should. And, not true. And so I went my way that I wanted to do, which was do my own stuff. I wrote.
You went to HBO, didn't you?
Well, then again, by chance, because I was going to America quite a lot, I met someone there who was setting up HBO.
Yeah.
And he said, I said, have you got anyone representing you in Britain? He said, no. I said, why not? I said, we've got all the talent there, we've got all the, all the know-how. Why don't you come over here? We've got lovely, wonderful stuff. I said, I tell you what, don't pay me anything, come over and see. And if you want me to have an office over here, I'll do it. That's what happened. He didn't know how broke I was very broke. And he came over and I arranged a nice tour for him to go to all the theatres and this, that, and the other. I've known him to this day, very good friend. And I said, just stick an office, I'll have an office if I'm with He said, would you like one in Parliament? Yeah. I used to have one there. Let's have one again. And I was with them for over 20 years.
Fantastic.
Setting up all the various things, going to meetings in New York and LA. So I think I landed on my feet there.
And even today, as I hope lots of people are going to join us again tomorrow, because there's so much that we can talk about. I wish we could sit here all afternoon.
Yeah, I know.
But I just wanted to mention, even today you've set up your own media product, Glow Time.
I'm working with my daughter, who's an actress, is still an actress, and we set up something together, and it is going to be very exciting. Well, we are going to be our own bosses, and we've already setting it up, and it's Glow Time. If you want to look it up, it's on the network. And we've set it up now the last 2 or 3 months, and we're getting very good reaction. We're putting everything in there, different things that we like to do, we want to do, and we feel will be good to do, because we're putting stuff on there that we like to look at, but our family would like to look at, and we've done our own series now. We'll be on the air later on in the year.
And that's The Last Station.
It is called The Last Station. It's not puppets, but it's animation, which I'd never done before. And then I was amazed at how much you can do with animation, without the problems of puppets. So that's going well, and so we've got a new lead in it.
Thank you.
So, do you want to hear more?
I'd love to hear more, but you're going to take a seat outside and do some signing at some point, aren't you? Today. So
yeah.
people get a chance to.
Just a little while.
Just a little while there.
Right.
Time has defeated us. We've got some more excellent guests to listen to this afternoon. So can I
Sure.
ask you to show your appreciation to the inspiration?